Keep it simple, silly. Simple pictures are best. So there's a conflict, it appears, between simplicity and complexity. And if you're going to be a great listener and a great negotiator and a great leader, you need to understand where you'll be operating in terms of simplicity and complexity. And what I've found in my life is that there's kind of a simplicity sandwich. So for most things, simple pictures are best. Like, it's not that simple, right? The vast majority of problems you're going to solve tomorrow when we all wake up are going to be quite simple. Driving your car, you look down. Oh, I'm almost on E. I better find a gas station. Pretty simple, right? Then in the middle, things get a little bit more complex. So there are a lot of problems that are technical in nature, very complex in terms of their makeup, and they do require a fairly complex solution, right? I think of investing. I'm a real estate investor. So if I see a property, I need to figure out if it's going to be a wise investment and what kind of investment it's going to be. And I actually have a fairly complex spreadsheet where I plug in all these factors, but then there's also like 3 different kinds of guesstimating, because I have to know what the market's going to do in the next 3 months, what the market's going to do in the next 3 years for renting, if I rent, and it's very complex. And if you try to overly simplify it, you're going to lose your shorts, because you won't see all the angles. So that's the complex middle, and it's dangerous. You got to have a system, right? And you have to have all of the data, right? So that's the meat of the sandwich. But here, if you break through that, things get so complex that they can't be controlled. They get so complex that if you come up with a system of rote responses, you're screwed. Things get so complex, and by now you've probably realized where we're at. We're no longer in the technical sphere. We're no longer talking about investments. We're no longer talking about machines. We're talking about people problems, right? We've broken through into solving people problems, which defy solutions. If you are going to encounter somebody who's emotionally disturbed and who's bent on violence, there are no scripts. There is no system of pure data where you've put in all of the different equations and it spits out the solution. Just say this. Doesn't exist. So we're back to simplicity. So simplicity started out our problem-solving adventure. In the middle, things got too complex. We had to have like complex systems of data, right? And now we've broken through, and data's not your friend anymore, because people problems can't be solved. People aren't problems to be solved. What you need is a simple, reliable system that works. And of course, it's active listening. So simple, complex, and now it's simple again. I'm going to listen to the last thing that's said. I'm going to respond to it using an active listening technique. I'm going to bear in mind the context of the conversation, but only reply to the last thing that's said. I'm going to make it about them. I'm going to reflect upon what they're saying. I'm going to directly address emotions. There is no script. They supply the dialogue, right? It's a dance. It's a complex dance. It's far more art than science, although it relies upon scientific principles of persuasion. It is an art. And it is very effective at making deep connections with people. If you'll note, my website's up, and I have a new logo for my business, and the logo features prominently the Knight's Piece from chess. And the Knight's Piece, and all the complexity of the grandmasters of chess, right? The Knight's Piece is the only one that leaps over obstacles, goes behind defenses to overcome and overwhelm, not through force, but through strategy and position. And that is active listening. That is why the chess piece of the knight is the universal symbol for negotiators, especially hostage and crisis negotiators or intelligence. And that is why it's in my logo, along with olive branches, which represent peace and victory. So, check out the website if you get a chance, but also check out the complexity of the situation you're in and decide if it really calls for what? Elegant simplicity. Catch you on the flip side.